All right, and we are back. Welcome to another live Pen to Gas podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor today to sit down with the man, the myth, the legend, Joel Hillier. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We just had a great conversation before we went live, and you, my friend, you're killing the game. Everything you're bringing to it, you're elevating it to a sense, and you got great people behind you, a great team. And you, my
Thanks.
friend, is
It's going
absolutely
it's going well. I won't deny we're kind of experiencing an upward trend as far as the team goes, and what we've got going on with sponsors and plans for the future. And it does seem to be trending upwards, and I'm enjoying the ride. Let's put it that way. So,
it's
what it's all about, right? The enjoyment of it. It's why we all got into the sport in the first place. I tell people that all the time when they get down about race results or things like that. I said, sometimes you got to step back and just remember why you started, because, you had mentioned earlier about how, what started it for me, the adventure on two wheels. And I tell the story all the time. Me and a buddy put our paper route money together and we bought a Yamaha GT80 from the Bargain Hunter for $80. And it was such a pile of crap. It started out the week. Oh, I'm talking no seat cover, just wet oozing foam, oil dripping from every orifice in it. By the end of the day one, it wouldn't start with the kickstart anymore. It was two of us taking turns pushing each other to get it running. At the end of day two, the gear shift had stripped and fell off, and we had found some older guy in the neighborhood to tack weld it back on, and that broke off. And I think we had a pair of vice grips on it to shift gears. And anyway, I don't even know if it made it to a second weekend, but the hook was in, and wasn't long after that I had somehow talked my parents into buying me a YZ80, and then it was off and running. And the story, the journey was on, right? So.
I love it. Everybody's got their own unique path on how it starts for them. And at the time when we get into this journey, right? Because you're right, it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. We all destined to the same one, right? It's unavoidable. But that journey in between is so very important. And everybody's path is different. My path's different from your path, but it all comes to the same, whether it's dirt, tarmac, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And the people you meet along the way on your journey, and at the time you don't realize when you get into it how much it's going to change your life and how much you're going to fall in love with those two wheels, right? Even though it's
For
a
sure.
simple machine.
For
um,
sure.
it, it
It's a passion, and without it, kind of life goes a little bit side. Everybody needs something to be passionate about, and it's an easy sport to latch onto and fill that hole that we all have in us. And for me, it's been a blessing. The few times, well, when I've been away from it, other things have filled that void, and maybe not necessarily good things. So, yeah.
we all been down that, right? And I always say this, Joel, it's like I don't feel like I believe really that if everybody had a passion like we do for motorcycles, no matter what it is, this world would be a happier place, right? Everybody would be happy with themselves, and there wouldn't be so much of this going on and be more of this going on right here and more of this going on and whatever, right? So your journey is epic. The way you started, two kids getting together, buying a bike, right? And the whole
Yeah.
path started for you. And
Yeah.
here you are. So how did you become a team owner? Like, walk us through that. How did all this happen?
Well, I had a pretty successful, amateur career myself back in the 80s and 90s racing. And at a certain point, I mean, we could go through all that, but at a certain point, that kind of transitioned into a different sport in that I was in the early stages of snowboarding when that really took off, and owned a surf shop and snowboard shop. And um, that's where sort of the sponsorship side of things, I learned a lot more. I was very fortunate. I was at where the independent little snowboard companies were getting bought up by big ski companies. There was a lot of money flowing at that point in time. And, I was a tangible asset that these guys, executives, could invest some money in and get a return. So I learned sort of the marketing and what it took to move the needle on a sponsorship side of things from that more than from moto. And years later here, I took a huge hiatus from riding. I didn't ride for 27 years. And when I got back into it, there was a guy that was working for me. I was running a plumbing and heating company at the time. And there was a guy who was working for me who was riding dirt bikes and racing. And he, 25 years younger than me, or 20 something years younger than me. He said, I'm going to take you under my wing and bring you to all the tracks. So me and this kid start going to all these tracks. And he starts telling me about his, I'm going to use the air quotes here, his sponsorship. And as he describes what is his sponsorship, he's paying into a buying group at best. What this guy was sort of passing off as a team was, you pool a bunch of kids' money together and you all buy graphics and get them at a little reduced cost, or you pool all the guys' money together and you all get your suspension. I think the guy doing it was getting his own shit for free off the backs of these kids that he had convinced this was a sponsorship. So sort of at the end of that year, I was like, man, I'll ask a couple of my buddies that own businesses and we'll come up with a couple dollars for this kid instead. And so I did. And then I kind of wanted to show him, I was really lucky in my world, in my life, both even moto. I had a pretty good sponsorship as a kid, or as a youth, and a few of them. And then definitely for surfing and snowboarding, I had, really experienced it to a much better level. So I kind of wanted to show this guy, and this is a mid-pack junior, of no applicable talent here, right? But just a good kid. So I wanted to kind of help him out. And it started out pretty small. And then the next year, so at the end of that year, the couple businesses that had given me a few bucks to start, sponsor this kid, kept coming up, and they'd say, hey man, everywhere I go, people say, hey, I did a really good job of promoting this little team, right? For lack of a better, we'll call it a team. It wasn't really a team, but so at the end of year one, they go, hey, I want to do it again next year and get more involved. And so as more money came in, I didn't want to keep a penny for myself. I thought, and I'm a big believer, if you have a sort of a pure heart of what you're doing with it, the results are often so much better because it's untainted. You've got clear conscience to promote it heavily, and not there's no ulterior motive where you're lining your own pocket, right? So I promoted it pretty heavily. In year two, more money came in than what I was willing to give this one kid in mid junior. So we took on a second mid-pack junior, and this guy had kind of a cool idea. In Canada at the nationals, they run this class called premix. It's like a 125 two-stroke class that they run on National Day, and you don't have there's some pros, there's some old vet class guys, there's young kids on a super mini. It's open to anybody to qualify and try to race this.
Early, because we were watching a movie.
I know. I got your text. You're good.
I thought you were asleep still.
No, I'm out of sleep. I've been up.
Oh.
I'm sitting down with Joel. Say hi to Joel.
Hello.
He just got home from school.
Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
He always busts up in here every podcast usually. But anyway, sorry, Joel. Continue.
Yeah, so this kid, he starts going across the country to every national, doing these premix races at every national. And it was pretty cool. He ended up for the year top 10 in this premix class across the country. And that kind of wet my whistle for hey, maybe we could do something a little bigger. I enjoyed the fun of following his journey across the country to score these points. And that's when we added sort of our first rider of merit, for lack of a better word, when we brought on Brooke Johnson, a top tier female, and actually just a phenomenal person. Anyway, really hit it off with her. Very much like family to me now. Her, like a daughter. So, and she had talent. So, at the same time at the nationals, where there's the premix class that does this 125 featured, sort of a support class for on National Day, they also have a women's class. So we came up with the idea for her to go across the country and do the national championship in the female category. And at the exact sort of moment that we were kind of coming up with this concept of her going across the country, Triumph was introducing their first motocross bike ever. And I had reached out to Triumph, and they came back with a look. It's year one for us. We're doing an AMA team and we're doing an MXGP team, and that is it. There's nothing else out there available other than this. You know, literally the World Championship and the AMA series. And so I came across our local Triumph dealer. Ended up making friends with Adrian and Lisa Bolton, fantastic people. They're from England, and they had some pretty good connections at Triumph. And before you knew it, the only people in the world getting a bike were the MXGP team, the AMA team, and one girl from Nova Scotia, Brooke Johnson. So that was pretty crazy that, you know, literally there's the World Championship, the AMA team, and a girl from Nova Scotia. And so off she went to do the nationals across the country. And she was the first person, I think, to ever score a point on a Triumph in North America. I'm pretty sure the first win ever, she won a race in Ontario. And then she ended up finishing the series 10th overall. So just, you know, squeaked in there. And but along the way, you know, we had a phenomenal time. So that led to kind of a pretty good relationship with Triumph. Actually, got established. And I don't know if, as I was mentioning to you, my day job, I'm director of marketing for a corporation. So that's kind of my bag. And I do a pretty good job of promoting the sponsors that we have and the companies involved with the team. And so I started ratcheting up our social media game, and obviously that attracts some non-endemic sponsors and moved the needle at Triumph. And I went to them this year for 2025. I was dealing with Rod Lapusnik, who's the president of North America for Triumph, and he said, you know, give me your business plan and what you want to do, and kind of a 3-tier scenario, you know, a good, better, best. And so I hit him up. I was like, all right, you know, $1.2 million. Let's bring Tommy Searle over from England and do the Canadian Nationals. And then, you know, the mid-tier one was like, all right, let's bring up a, you know, retired guy from AMA, like say a Marvin Muscan or somebody who's freshly retired, and have them do the Nationals. And then, you know, rock bottom was like, give me some bikes and we'll do the Atlantic Series. And he came back with, we'll give you some bikes and you can do the Atlantic Series. So that was what we did for 25. And we signed the 6-time Atlantic Pro Champ. He's a 25-year-old guy named Brett Young. He has not lost a series since he's been on 50s at 5 years old. So for 20 years in a row, he's won a title. And just a friggin' bulldog of a guy, right? So it was not easy because he's, you know, in this region. In Atlantic Canada is basically 1/3 of the country, everything east of Quebec. So it's a pretty, you know, sizable region, and it's got big numbers. Like our numbers at events are in the 400 range. So it's, you know, places that have a population 10 times the size of us get around the same number of entries that we get. It's big here, Moto. And he's, you know, big fish in a small pond. So had to sign Brett, which wasn't cheap, cost some money, and some bikes and some parts and a lot of headaches. And so we signed him, and obviously Brooke came back again for this year. And then my buddy Talon Hansen, who, you know, I've had a 5-year relationship with Talon. He's flown up to do, we have a national event in our region each year. And so 5 years ago, when I got back into Moto, somehow I ended up meeting Talon, I think through LinkedIn. And he was like, I'd love to come to Riverglade. I need a bike to ride. And I loaned him my own 450 that year. Anyway, he's been coming back every year. And so, yeah, we got those guys on the team. We had a B class rider. So it was and a vet class guy, who's a great rider and almost like a part of the team on a variety of fronts. Like he's got a fitness background, so he helped out a lot with Brett. And yeah, that's how we got to where we are. And yeah, and then big plans for 26. We're going up again, another step up the ladder. And yeah, so that's how the team started and where it's at today.
Bro, what a journey. It's you know, you're right. What you said earlier, you know, if you get into it so hardly because you love it with no other alternative motives behind it, man, it's like things take off. I'm the same way. I just do it because I love it, right? I don't seek sponsorship. I don't do any of that. Everything just happens the way it's meant to happen, right?
Well, I seek some sponsorship. I spend an awful lot of time seeking sponsorship, but
I don't. Which brings me to the question, Joel.
Mhm.
What would be your advice for young parents and have their kids or young adults in the sport, whether it's on the pavement or the dirt? What advice would you give them to look for? I don't like sponsorship, the friendship, right? Friendships to help.
Oh,
Get
I've
them
got
started.
to. I've put a lot of time into this, and I actually I like kind of helping people with it. I mean, what I tell people right off the hop, when you're looking for sponsors, write down a list of places that you buy things. Um, who, and not so applicable to a child, but let's say the adult of a child or a youth or a grown man. Where do you get your car insurance from? Where do you buy, right? Go down the list. Where do you get your gas from? Where do you get your toilet paper from? Where do you get, and, and start making a map of who you pay money to. That doesn't have to be a one-way street, especially, I mean, yeah, you're not going to get much luck if you buy everything at Walmart, but if you buy your bicycle from a mom and pop bicycle shop in town, and all the better, right? It really does kind of make people stop and look at where their purchases are going to, because when you've got a chance to actually engage with that owner of that business, you're a lot further ahead than if it's some faceless, nameless corporation, right? So anyway, I tell people all the time, that's the best starting point. Make a big list of everything you buy, and don't like, my financial investments are at Asante Wealth Management. Well, I went to them. I'm like, you guys get money out of me every year. This is a two-way street. Now I need a little for the dirt bike team. And across the board, I've literally stopped doing business with people that haven't contributed in return, right? That look at it as a one-way street. I go, okay, fine, I'll take my business elsewhere. And but that's sort of the starting point. And then in this day and age, you got to think about it. Like I tell people all the time, I mean, unless you're a top pro, you're not actually moving the needle. Like your racing doesn't move the needle to benefit these companies in a lot of, there's nobody going out and buying those products because you're a mid-class C-let rider, right? Unless you're providing something in return. And what that is advertising. You've got to do your part and look at it as you're providing. That's, a lot of people look at sponsorship like, the kid looking for, or the parent looking for some bucks for his kid's hockey team or his kid's baseball team as a handout. And that's one of the things I'm very clear with our sponsors. I actually call them advertisers, not sponsors. And I'm not looking for a handout. There is a return on investment here. And that comes in the form of advertising. In fact, Coastal Moto is a registered business. It's registered as an advertising company. And I provide them with a receipt, for taxation purposes, the companies that invest with us or that advertise with us. And then I give them quarterly updates on, here's what we're doing on social media. This is the number of views we're doing, the number of in-person appearances, and try to put together a very attractive package. And it makes it easy for them to come back year after year. We've rarely lost a sponsor / advertiser, and each year it keeps growing. And 9 times out of 10, they're pretty happy and pretty pleased with what they get as a return from us with regards to promotion and exposure.
Yeah, that's why, especially with the youth, I tell them how important social media is, how important that presence is on social media, because that's the way of the world, right? They want to see the views and the analytics and all that, because exactly what you just said, that's
Yeah.
their return.
Yeah.
Is the advertisement. Every time you get on Facebook, it's whatever. I'm gonna use Coastal Moto, right? Or pin the gas, It's
Yeah.
and it's simple. And people think it takes a long time. It don't. Like 30, 45 seconds, just boom, 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 send.
Well, yes and no. Like, I do 7 social media posts a day between
Okay.
all the platforms. So it's time consuming, but where we've been really successful is the kids on the team know their role. So I will write up a social media post each day, and I hit forward to the 4 or 5 people that are involved, and they know it's their job to repost that. So I take it out of their hands in that, because we've got a list of 22 sponsors that I write out every day with all those hashtags. It's a pain in the ass doing that on every post. if I left it to them, they probably wouldn't do it, or they wouldn't do it as often as we need to. And then it expands the reach, right? Like when I'm doing a post, that's going out 6 times. And that, like, for example, last month, my Facebook number, of views was about 530,000 views on Facebook of my personal Joel Hillier. But when you add in what Brooke did, what Brett did, what Talon did, what Rob did, we're at 980,000. So, case in point, that expanded our reach from 500,000 to 1 million by sharing those views. And those are big numbers. If you're a company and you can get 1 million people to see your logo, to see your name per month, that's no joke. That's a saleable item.
Yeah,
from my
100%.
side of you, right?
I'm at like 280,000 views or whatever on
There's nothing wrong with that. Those are good numbers. You do the math on that. That's almost 3 million views a year.
Yeah.
Annually. I mean, that's something that a company will pay for. The current going rate, especially from what they call like an organic views, like, non-paid advertising, is $12 per thousand. So if you were Progressive Insurance and you had an influencer that you were working with, the going rate for Facebook and Instagram paid influencer is $12 per thousand. So, if you've got 3 million views, do the math backwards, what that's worth. It's not chump change.
No, it's not.
No.
So it's not.
And we just did an advertising campaign. There was a company called Wonder Auto and Tire came on with us for the Riverglade National. And, I gave them a pitch of like, here, it's going to cost you X amount for the year. And they came back with, well, they had a director of marketing there as well. So it was one director of marketing dealing with another who both understand advertising. And it was a female. And she came back to me and she goes, well, we want to do a trial run. We want to see what we're getting here. So they gave us a budget, which was, on 1 month's share of what I was looking for the calendar year. And, we promoted the shit out of it. And at the end of the day, that $12 per thousand cost them 30 cents per thousand. So I was able to go back with a pretty nice, synopsis of here's what your monthly, you got 1 million views, you had this much engagement, you had this much exposure, and it cost you 30 cents per thousand. And they were like, wow, you're blowing us away here. You don't get better return on investment than that. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's my bag, man. I kind of get off on the advertising and the media side of things. That's, it's right up my alley.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's wonderful. I actually learned a lot from you right now. Just you, like, I didn't realize it because again, I don't go out and seek it or anything like that. And I've had a lot of people that say you should. So maybe I should.
Well, I've often thought about actually opening up more or less a sponsorship agency and doing some coaching with some people. And there are people who do this for a living, but I'm already pretty full with my day job and then the team, and the team is on a pretty cool trajectory where, it's not inconceivable that may be my full-time job within, a reasonable number, few years. Right. So
yeah, I love it. So let me ask you this, Joe, when you started signing riders to the riders you're signing today, has that changed at all?
In what regard?
Like, because when you first start a team and you want to sponsor a rider, give them a little help. And as you grow, obviously you see bigger and more talented paid riders, right? But has that motto changed? Has that mindset, like the way you look at when you first started at riders to bring in to way you look at riders now? Because obviously it's changed.
Yeah. This year was a big learning curve for me on that front. And I'm not talking out of turn here. I had a bit of a rough go this year. I mean, we were on a brand new motorcycle and like brand new to the world, the Triumph 450. So there were some teething problems, and then there was some setup problems, getting it set up. There was no data to go off of for suspension or anything like that, how it works with that chassis. And our pro class guy was getting pretty wound up. And, we actually lost. We had a B level rider, a B, who quit. And that's the first time I've ever had that. In fact, in hindsight, like in retrospect, it was crazy. I would have taken, for the deal that we've got going on, I'd take 10 DNFs in a row, to be on this team. So, but, for him, it was more important just to have a reliable bike that was already set up, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like I say, with our pro class guy, he was pretty upset, and we had to work through a lot of challenges, and it taught me a couple things. One, I got to a point where I have serenity in a crisis that I don't know that I had before. There was a learning of Joel's mentality and how to cope with crisis, and so that was one thing that changed. And then the other was I did start to look at things much more contractually with regards to the riders. Where everything was a handshake agreement in the past, going forward, it will be a contractual agreement, and there'll be some stipulations, for lack of a better word, a morality clause, in that, you can't have somebody, necessarily verbally unhappy publicly. And so, yeah, I mean, going forward for 20, believe you me, I want the same riders back. I came to really love the guy that I was having some issues with. In fact, to a great degree, love the kid. But, I'm not going to hand him one lump sum up front next year. It's going to be doled out each month. So yeah, it's a learning process on my end, absolutely, from a team standpoint. And then the other thing too is from a liability standpoint. I had a friend of mine is in the legal field, and he looked at what I was doing. He goes, "You are wide open here. Like, you're handing somebody a motorcycle and saying, 'Here, race this.' And if there's a mechanical flaw in that, et cetera, everybody's pretty cool in this business, and you wouldn't think you'd end up in any legal issues, and didn't. But yeah, going forward, I think it'll be much more of a subcontractor type agreement where you're handing that off, and as the AMA teams are, that's how it is. Like, the riders are a subcontractor; they're not an employee of the team, right? So, yeah, unfortunately, these are the things that you have to do in order to kind of keep it going and to protect yourself and your family going forward. But yeah, it's a learning process, no question. Oh, I lost your sound, Chris.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. I don't know what happened. Anyway, the part of the business you do. I know you're super busy and you're juggling many things, and
No worries.
You're killing it, right? You're absolutely killing the game, and it's a learning curve for you, as you just explained to everybody.
Yeah.
You don't come in, even though you've been doing it a long time, you still learn, just like everybody that gets on the motorcycle learns all the time. Even Valentino Rossi, Talon, Ricky Carmichael, they never stop learning every time they got on that motorcycle. Same thing as a business and a team owner, right?
Yeah,
Saying
for sure.
all this, let me ask you this: what is your future goal? Where do you see Coastal Moto and you in 5 years' time?
Well, I mean, even for 2026, our plan is to do full-time Canadian Nationals. I want to do one of the AMA Arena Cross Series over the winter, probably the GT Arena Cross Series. Redline Oil is a big part of our program. Guys, Mark Beatty and Eric Christensen down there. I mean, nobody gives back more than those guys. Like, if you look at the size of Redline as a company and then what they contribute back into the race community, it's disproportionate compared to any other oil company out there. If you want to support a company that supports racing, Redline Oil, man. And so those guys are the primary sponsor of all the AMA Arena Cross Series. But the GT Arena Cross Series, I think, is kind of near and dear to them, and that's what we hope to do for the winter. And then, yeah, for 2026, we're going to do a full Canadian National campaign in the women's class and in the pro class with Brett. Talon will make some guest appearances, I'm sure, and we're going to probably add on another pro rider out of the States or a top Canadian, and then I also want to do a little bit on the developmental side. There's a couple young, talented kids that I see a lot of future in, and I think it'd be nice to kind of guide them from their teenage years on into their pro class years and have a long history. Um, Talon's getting close to 30. I think he's 28 now. Got a wife, got a kid. For a lot of people, racing has a shelf life, has a ceiling, right? And even Brett, our top pro there, he's 26 now, I think, and he's getting serious with his girlfriend, and there's going to come a point there but you flip this sort of flip side of the coin is there's kids out there that are 14 or 15 that you could have 10 good years with, and I'd like to start to develop that side of it, and help some kids maximize their potential. We've been doing actually lately, like the race before last, we brought up the current 85cc points leader, super mini kid, and he got a little tryout on a Triumph 250. First time he'd ever ridden a big bike, did awesome. And then last weekend we brought on a guy for a tryout as well. Really talented, highly touted Canadian amateur. Unfortunately, he went down hard second lap and broke his wrist. Beat the piss out of my bike. But yeah, we got some big plans for the future for sure.
I love it, man. I love it. And exactly what you said. That's why I'm a big advocate for SFL Mini GP. As far as the road racing side goes, because they teach the young kids coming into the game, because it's important to have the future of the sport, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing, helping. I don't want to say the older generation, but there is levels to the game. You're right. People get girlfriends, life change, and all that stuff happens. So you got to. I call it the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing too by wanting to get in and bring little kids up through the whole careers and help shape their path to the top is, again, speaks volumes of who you are as a person in your company, in your vision, in your goals that you set forth for
Thanks.
this.
Now the flip side to that is you're dealing with a parent, and
that's tricky.
It can be like we call them hockey parents. I mean, I don't know if you're in an area where you got hockey, but
I do, yeah.
Or if you understand sort of the term, you can get that parent out there that's a real problem. Knock on wood, we haven't had that really, but yeah, that's something that you start dealing with. Unfortunately, you can really like the kid and not necessarily like the parents, or they can have a little bit too much input. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's like I find that sometimes in this sport, you have parents that I think want to live through their kids.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. They want the best for them, just like I do, just like
Yeah.
you do. Right. But they
Yeah.
also got to understand that they need to step back and let him or her or whoever it is do the coaching and all that to help them or her progress and grow even further instead of stepping in the picture. And I've heard plenty of dads being kicked out of the paddock and can't come back and all that because of this reason, right?
Yeah.
And I could see where it would be tricky to deal with. Like you said, man, I really like the kid, but his parents, like, he's just got to stay out there, let me do my thing with him or her and let them get the best out of them. Because as a
Yeah.
kid standpoint, when you have a parent that's always right here telling you what they think is right and you're wrong and all this, it plays mind tricks. It's a whole mental side of racing.
Yeah, and I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life, and a business owner or in a managerial role. I'm not really used to sharing the input or I'm not running. This is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. I'm making the rules, and it's going my way. And so yeah, I'm not really even open to suggestions about what's going to happen. No, this is mine. And if you want to have a team, you go ahead and have your own team. But it's my money, it's my time, it's my effort. I'm doing it my way. And that's how it's been too for riders. Like we picked, there's been some blowback on some of our choices. It's funny how people who have absolutely nothing to do with the race team will offer up opinions and be, I had a guy write me this tirade of, I'll no longer support your team. And I'm like, I don't know what his support was. I guess follow the team, but it's not like this guy contributes any money or anything like that. But he was irate that one of the riders I chose comes from a fairly good financial background as far as the parents go. So this guy was like, "Here you are helping out a rich kid. This is bullshit." And I'm like, "Well, I'm helping out the kid I like and I think has talent. And whether his parents have money or not doesn't enter my thought process. I'm going for somebody I like as a person and who I think has a potential, right? So, but yeah, that's how it is. Unfortunately, when you're in the situation, you got a lot of input from other sources, and some of it's good, some of it's not so good.
That's the yin and the yang again of everything, right? I get it too on my end, so it's just one of those things that people don't. It's easy for people to watch whatever the podcast or show up and watch your team or come to the dealership, but they don't see what happens behind closed doors, all the phone calls, the video chats, the business and the sponsors, and it's
Oh
just
man,
it's never ending cycle. And on top of that, I work a full-time job and I'm a husband and I'm a dad. It's this juggling act that you got to find a good balance. And not only that, is you got to have good people, teams in your corner that fully support you and
yeah,
um, give you
I,
that freedom to allow you to do that.
you're absolutely right. I mean, we have over 20 sponsors, and the rate of success, versus when you approach a company to signing a sponsor, maybe 10 to 1, right? So that means there were 200 companies I've had talks with in order to get 20. Um, and some of those go pretty deep. Some of those are 10 conversations, so yeah, the time that you've got invested in it, it's huge, man. And then the rejection, or the amount of people that you have a done deal with, and then they just don't come through at the last minute. Um, so there's a lot that goes into it, but and like you said, working a job and having a life and is what it is, right?
But it's beautiful, right? Again, that's the part of this journey that's magical, and the people you meet in the industry. Our beautiful circus is what I call it. It's super unique to all other sports out there, right? It's one of the only ones where you could show up and if you don't have a part on your bike or you get in a wreck, dude, other people that you don't even know will jump in and help you
Yeah,
and let you
yeah,
borrow parts, right? You don't get
yeah.
that in UFC, you don't get that in boxing, you don't get that in basketball, you don't get that in any other sport.
No,
Um,
95% of the people at the tracker are awesome, awesome people.
100%. There's always clowns too, right?
Yeah,
It's the only circus in town where even the clowns got to pay to play, um,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, but again, it's such a beautiful place to be. The atmosphere, the people. It's just it's hard to express in the words, especially the outside people that don't. I guess to me, it's a lifestyle. Obviously, the
yeah. It
same
is. Yeah,
as you, right? And it's different the way we view it, and look at it, because we're so involved in it versus somebody that just is a fan of the sport that don't know everything. That is that social media,
Keyboard warrior. Yeah,
yeah, keyboard. I get them all the time too. So it's
yeah.
just part of the game, But I enjoy it all. You got to take the good and the bad and go with it. But speaking of Triumph, man, you're right.
Mhm.
I was really impressed when Triumph first announced that they were going to make a dirt bike. Ricky Carmichael had a huge part to play in developing the whole thing. And obviously, I talked to Talon several times about it when he was on the podcast. And so, from where it started to where it is at now, how much has that growth in Triumph come a long way?
Well, to be honest with you, what they produced is nothing short of amazing. Like, for a first gen bike, like they handle so well. The straight line stability is amazing. The fit and finish, like when you look at the componentry, if a Japanese manufacturer made these bikes, they'd be, in Canada, the price of a 450 Triumph is about, say $13,000 to $14,000. If a Japanese manufacturer made that bike, it'd be a works edition and it'd be $20,000. Um, when you take apart, you look at, say, the clutch basket or parts that are inside of it, they're like a billet or a machine part that in a Japanese bike would be a cast white aluminum piece of shit. Um, so the componentry is amazing. The performance out of them's off the charts. Um, some teething problems. There was some issues. We were going through clutches right off the hop. And then, but Triumph as a company, Triumph America has been so good to us. Like, we had a clutch problem, and I think the guy who handles global warranty and quality control, his response, I remember reading this email. He's like, I can't tell you to call Ron Hinson at 1614, but if you were to call Ron Hinson at, 1614 area code, he may be waiting for your phone call with a replacement part that is not manufactured by us. And so, and then we tested this. This has been really cool. We worked hand in hand with the same guy. Love this guy. I'll give him a shout out. Scott Callender at Triumph America. Awesome guy. Bailed us out all year. Like, when anything we needed, this guy came through. And so yeah, there was a mechanism, a detent wheel that was having some issues, and and this is something that's so cool because you're dealing with from conception to a part in your hands in record time when it's a small company like this. Like, a engineer came up with a fix. Somebody threw it on a CNC machine over in Hinckley, England. It went off to Chris Kiefer for a 24-hour test in California. Within 48 hours, I got two of them on my desk, and then we put them in the 450s, and Brett tested. And Brett's a machine. Our top pro rider there. He's pretty hard on stuff. He's a big man, and he rides the bike hard. And his bikes with 20 hours on them look like they're from 1997. He beats the piss out of shit. So anyway, we actually did some testing of one-off parts for them, which was really cool to be involved in that process. And we gave them our feedback, and before we knew it, that was now being sent out to dealers as an upgrade on the production model. So pretty cool to be involved on any level, but on the inner workings behind the scenes, it's really cool.
Oh yeah, because you guys have a huge role too, in my eyes, the way you explaining it, a part to play in obviously the development and test and tuning of the bikes too, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, even like Talon with suspension. MX Tech, I think, is who he's running suspension for. Their National Shock and that A-Kit fork they've got, is as much as the bike. They've got a $14,000 suspension setup on Talon's bike that he's using for the year in exchange for feedback, because they needed somebody of a relatively high level on a Triumph to test it out for them. So, being on the ground floor like this with a manufacturer, it's been such a fun experience. We would not have got if we were just some satellite Yamaha team or through a dealership, or never would have experienced what we have. So, and it's all added to the fun of it all, for sure.
Oh, absolutely, it has. Again, you, my friend, is an absolute legend of the sport in my eyes. Not because of your riding, but everything you're doing for everybody. Your presence, the whole nine. It's truly amazing. I wish we had more people like you in our sport. It would be.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but
no, for sure, 110%. I see it. Everybody else sees it too, right? That's why they love you, and they respect you, and they give you all the full love and support. So, and I'm glad that in this lifetime that we actually built this friendship, and it's an honor to sit down with you. And if there's anything I can do, as far as all I can do is social media and help, put you out there. Of course, I will too as well.
Well, appreciate everything, Chris. I mean, no question.
Yeah, I fully support my friends in the sport. That's huge to me. And that's why when I do my custom T-shirts, I always put. I can't have a T-shirt full of everybody's logo. It'll always be an ugly T-shirt, but I always change it up every shirts I come out to support all my friends.
It's funny you say that. We've got our gear sponsor for the most of us. Like, the two pro guys are with FXR, but the rest of the team is with a company called Moto, which is a Nova Scotia-based gear company owned by two top pros, Mitch Cook and Tyler Medaglia, who's a mega legend. So anyway, that's Moto, and they have a designer there who does our custom gear. And one of the funny things about being pretty successful, about getting a lot of sponsors, is there's a lot of logos on it. And the guy who's the designer, he hates it. He goes, "Your gear looks like the placemat at a restaurant." And it's got everybody's logo, and I love it. To me, it looks pro, right, with all those companies on there. So But no, I hear you.
Yeah, it does, right? It makes you feel special for sure. So yeah, we actually got Corey. Corey has a question for you.
Sure.
Welcome to the show, Corey.
Oh, Corey Gallant.
Yeah, let's
I
go. Right?
I know this guy.
How well do you know this guy?
Me and Corey are buddies. We've gone riding together. There's a running joke. Corey's gonna love this. So one time, I'm like, I ride a lot. I go out like 3 times a week, sometimes more. And Corey, you know, he came up with a couple excuses like, I can't make it today, blah blah blah. So one day I said, come on, let's go riding. And he said, nah. I said, what happened to you? You didn't come. He goes, nah, I got a box of popsicles and stayed home. It was hot. So every time Corey makes a post, I'll go, are you staying home eating popsicles? So that's a running joke with me and Corey.
I love it. I love it. Well, his question obviously is plans on a full circuit next year, Joel?
Yeah, that's the plan. We put in our request to Triumph, and we're kind of going back and forth, but we've asked for a little bit of assistance to do a full national program, and we're waiting on. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. I think we've kind of given them more than your average team does with regards to return on investment, exposure, and support. And we don't need a lot either. Like the Canadian Nationals this year is going to be scaled down a little bit from what rumor has it. It's not going to go out west as far, and so geographically, that's going to make it a little more financially feasible for us as well. And yeah, that's absolutely the plan. It'll be pretty disappointing if we're not able to put together a full national circuit next year.
It'll happen. 110% it'll happen for sure. Corey says, ha, 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 on the popsicle joke, right? Let's go.
Yeah,
I love it, man. Adrian, what is going on, buddy? He says, great job, Joel.
Well, Adrian is huge. Adrian and Lisa own APD Motorsports, and I don't even want to say they're a sponsor. They're a partner with us. They are our Triumph liaison, who introduced us to Triumph. They're a standalone dealership. Like that's one of the things that we really have going for us is that we're heavily linked with APD, and they're a standalone Triumph. There are no other brands on their showroom floor. So again, that's sort of our appeal to Triumph, is that when you're supporting us in APD, it's not like it's getting diluted. You're not, the money isn't going out there to run Husqvarna ads and shit like that, right? It's staying with the brand. So
I love it. I love it. Thanks for joining in, Adrian. And then Corey says, nice to hear, Joel. Keep riding and good luck next year.
Corey's a gem, man. He's a great guy, and he used to be in the province of Nova Scotia where I live, not far from, maybe an hour and a half away from where I live, and so we would get together and ride. He did move to a province nearby, so I only see him at those rounds now. But no, good fella. I rode his. He bought an enduro bike a couple of years ago before we were affiliated with Triumph, and I gave it a ride at a motocross track. Took it off this friggin' jump, and I bottomed it so hard I thought I broke my back, man. So that was the last time I saw Corey. But yeah, good fella.
Oh my God. He says close to Riverglade MX.
That's where he is. Yeah, where we have a Canadian National. Actually, I'm there right now. We're in that area. We have a regional race next weekend, so I came up a week early. Going to practice at a local track, and for my day job, visit some contract. I run a HVAC wholesale company. Well, I'm the director of marketing for an HVAC wholesale company. So got some dealers in the area. I'm going to spend the week visiting, and then get a couple rides in up here on some stage tracks, and hit his area.
I love it, man. I love it. And you yourself, I presume you still ride, but not as much as you want to.
I ride probably more than 90% of the population does. When it comes to, I'm strictly a track guy. I've never been a trail guy. I grew up, it was a stopwatch and laps, right? So that's the only thing that moves the needle in my head. I try to ride trails, and it sickens me. So I hit the track about 3 days a week. I try pretty religiously. So my bikes get 100 hours a year on them, which for a track guy, that's probably more than 90% of the people out there. Dog shit slow. Don't get me wrong. I'm an old fat guy, man. And those are 100 slow hours. You know.
No, it's 100 fun hours. Might be
Oh,
slow, but it's
well,
100 fun hours.
that's like how we started this conversation. I'll be with a lot of people who will be upset about, they're angry about their race results, or they're going to pack it in because they're not. And I tell them all the time, you got to go back to what got you involved in this as a kid. And you rode a bike around a field. Every one of us did at some point, right? And that moved the needle in your brain. That was the funnest thing you'd ever done, and you had to have a bike. So put yourself back in the shoes of that kid and how fun that is. Put your ego on a shelf. And I also tell people all the time too, there is not one person on this planet who gives a shit how fast you are on a motorcycle except for yourself. I got a guy that I ride with. He's on our team. Rob, why not? I'll just rat him out and say him by name. He goes into he gets lost in his own head if the track isn't flowing right, and just he's beside himself over his results and things like that. And I'm constantly saying, man, you gotta, there's no one actually who cares how fast you got around that track except for you. And in our own minds, it's important, but in everybody out, the rest of the world, is your wife gonna love you less because you're dog shit slow? No,
No, you're right. You're so right on that. The only people that care is yourself, and the road racing side of things. Something I see, especially with new people coming into the sport, is the ego side of things, right?
Yeah.
You need to leave your ego outside those gates or park lot, wherever it is. When you come in here, you be a sponge, soak it all up, because you don't actually know really how to ride. You think you know, but you
Yeah.
don't. There's a lot to that whole side of again, everybody remembers the days when they're out there, the first, second, third, even 20th track day, club race, whatever it is, and this 12-year-old kid comes either on the inside or the outside of you on a machine that's a quarter the size of what you're on. And you're like, what's going on? You look down, and always, you have this big pie on your gas tank, and you're like, where'd this pie come from? Oh, you get ready to eat all of that, baby. But then I see people that show up, they have this such huge ego that they don't never let it go. They think they own everything, and at the end of the day, they just don't have fun, so they don't never come
Yeah.
back.
I remember being a kid, maybe going through puberty, and I remember my mom bought me these shoes that I thought were embarrassing, right? And I was like, oh, I'm embarrassed to wear these shoes. And my mom said, you think people are looking at you, but they're not. They're worried that you're looking at them. And that didn't stick with me as a child, but as an adult, I look back on and realize she's so right. Every other kid was worried that somebody was going to think their shoes were dorky or whatever. And it's the same at the track. I'm the oldest, fattest guy. In order to enjoy myself, you've got to throw that out of your mind and just, who gives a shit what you look like and or how quick you're getting around. Are you having a good time? That's great. And it's a game for everyone. You have these things in you. Well, I'm not happy with how I did that. Well, I'll work on that particular skill. Or as much as it's a sport against other people, where there's a competition against other people, it's also very much just you versus yourself, or working on yourself. And it's not that much different than a martial art. There's so much to learn. No matter if you went out and rode every day for the rest of your life, there's room for improvement. Body positioning and that's my dog, and everything else. So yeah, and again, if it was easy and you could master it, it wouldn't hold the same appeal. We'd all be sick of it and done, right? That's why it's so addictive, and so you want to spend all your waking hours on it, because there's something to figure out, something to knock off, something to perfect.
Yeah, it moves your soul in a way nothing else ever has, and you're right. It's just like I tell my buddies, I was like, look, Valentino Rossi, Mark Marquez, whoever you want to name, they never stop learning, right? And they never once in their mind said, I mastered this and I know it all, because absolutely they have not. Same thing with engineers, mechanics, things are evolving all the time and improving, and you got to keep an open mind and improve yourself in order to stay at the level of the game, so to speak.
Yeah, and you know what, ego, I mean, outside the sport, there was a period of time in my life where I had really bad anxiety and panic attacks and things like that. and I actually went and saw, a professional about it. And when you trace back the origins of anxiety and panic attacks, it actually comes back to ego. Um, it's all a worry of what somebody else is going to think, and again, once you can kind of put that you're free to enjoy life an awful lot more.
100%, right? That's why I tell people all the time, it's not so serious. It's not serious, right? Just have fun. When we're 12 years old, we think our life is this long, but me and you both know our life's really this long. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's important to be, first of all, love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
respect yourself, right? And that's going to allow you to open up your mind to love and accept everybody else too, and be happy and smile. And on top of that, for those of us that have this lifestyle, there's nothing that replaces those two. I don't care if it's a 25 cc, a 75, a 9, whatever it is. Get on it, ride every day. It's the only time really that I can ever focus on things, if that makes sense.
Well, there's definitely something to that too. I've thought about that. It's one of the few times where your mind is free of external baggage. You don't have the ability to dwell on your tax problem or your, audit that's coming up, or your, bills that you owe on. All that shit doesn't enter your mind. You're focused on the singularity of riding the bike, and it's almost a big reset, right, for the brain, in that it gives you this time away from reality, or the day-to-day stresses. And I think it's so good for your brain to be able to turn all that shit off for a little while, and that's what being focused on the bike and riding does for us.
110%. I wouldn't have said it better myself. Adrian commented, he says Finnegan sounds good too.
Oh man, see, that's my dog. I didn't know he was in the back. Like, I guess they can hear him in the background. So.
I love it. Well, I'm a big dog person. I actually got my older dog right here. Her name's Charlie. She's, I don't know, 500 years old.
Okay.
We adopted her when she was from my wife's step parents. My son was like 2 or 3 at the time, and she was 2 or 3 at the time. So
I'm gonna actually let him in so he shuts up. Finnegan is 14 months old, and he's a sheepdog. Kind of an asshole right now. I'm not gonna lie. He needs to be fixed in a big way. He's humping everything under the sun, and and he can be a real challenge. I got him shaved. He's gonna be in the picture here, I'm sure. But now he's got potential. He's just he's pretty hard to deal with at this moment in time.
Trust me, I understand. I got a puppy. She'll be a year old September next month, and man, she's done ate almost every pair of shoes that I have. Dude, he's beautiful. What, buddy? Good. Good. I'm proud of you. My son just come in here. Joel said he just pooped all over the floor.
Oh.
He's joking, of course. Do
Mm-hmm.
what?
My parents are about to fall down on one television.
Oh, cool. You having fun playing your Oculus? Have you ever played on one of these things, Joel?
I tried it out at somebody's basement there. Yeah.
This game called Moto X.
Oh, nice.
$8, and dude, it is like so sick. Cause you can actually ride on a dirt bike and like hit jumps and do stunts and crap. You just go.
Nice.
You can do Superman.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah. So he I got him a bike, a PW50 before he was even born.
Yep.
Got him a little Strider bike. He's got
Yep.
a dirt bike, but he don't really like to ride a whole lot. He's busy doing his thing. I don't force it upon him at all. Right?
No, you know what? Same as you. I bought each one of my kids a PW50. None of them stuck with it. Every one of them wanted a little kid's quad after that. They all got 4-wheelers, and then it petered out. And then one of them came back to me at around 15 years old and was like, "Dad, I think I'd like a bike." And I was like, "Well, give me 1.5 hours. I will return with one." And he's been riding since. He's 18 now, so he did get back. He missed, a chance to really kind of be competitive, but he doesn't give a shit. He enjoys it just for the riding sake. And my 15-year-old, that's my youngest, who again rode a PW50 and then moved on to like a little kid squad. Now that he's 15, he wants a bike. So I think it comes back around for a lot of people. And just because he's not into it today doesn't mean he won't be into it a few years down the road.
110%, right?
And if you're a road racing guy, I think you guys have a little different shelf life. You know, it's not it's not so imperative that they start at 9 years old and stick to the track time every like a dirt bike kid. You know, you take 10 years off of riding moto, it's pretty hard to get back to your competitive aspect, anyways, right?
No, yeah, it's and I tell people they talk about how physical football and hockey. I was like, dude, motocross racing is the most physical sport there is, hands down. Just in my personal opinion.
It's
Um,
pretty demanding, no question.
Absolutely, the humps, the bumps, the rumps, the jumps,
Yeah.
everything that goes along with it. Man, your body's taking a pound. I mean, just look at Travis Pastrana. He's had pretty much every surgery under the sun umpteen times. So
Yeah, I broke 8 ribs the year before last, and that was a tough one. I'm still dealing. I was 4 months off. We're 11 days in the hospital. Um, so yeah, and
don't,
I never really return. I'm at 60% effort. I would say that's in the back of my mind.
yeah, yeah. Well, Joe, as I call it, we get younger in life, not older, right?
Yeah.
We don't bounce or roll like we used to. We just and that's it. And then everything comes behind it. When my
Oh,
son hits the ground, he gets back up and he's just like,
yeah.
let's go. And I'm like, bro, that put me in a hospital for 3 months, right?
Well, I
So
think the increase in mass certainly has something to do with it, right? That's
that dad bod we develop over the years,
most
right? Yeah,
that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, so we got 121 Media in the house. What is happening? He said they should hire him for advertising. I'm sold.
Well, 121 Media is Brooke Johnson. That's our female on our team, and that girl is a gem of a person on and off the bike. Really, somebody I realistically I would think at some point she's going to come work for me. If I had to predict the future, um, either in my day job there, she'd make a great sales rep, or I often think that she'd be somebody who'd be kind of perfect to take on this team if got to the point where I was kind of done with it. Maybe her run it. But anyway, me and her are pretty tight. She's a good kid.
I love it. I love it. I need to. I'd love to get her and Brett on the podcast. Sit down and chat with them too. Also,
Yeah, I mean, she'd be a good interview. Brett, not so much. He's not. He's a man of few words. Uh, he's funny though, man. I have a great relationship with him. It's the most honest relationship of anybody. Like he texted me the other day. He goes, "Why am I getting so many flat front tires?" I was like, "Because you're a fat fucker." And, you know, so we
Chris,
have
I
that kind of
so
relationship.
much.
So um,
Oh my god. She
yeah,
says, "You're the best." Who? Me or Joel?
she means me for
I know
sure.
she does. He's like, not you. What are you talking about? I love it. Oh my God. Joel, listen, we're a little bit over an hour into this, man. I've had so much fun. Just stay on with me after we end this podcast and let's go ahead and schedule our part two because there's so
Sure,
much more that
sounds good. Well,
we got to talk.
thanks for having me on, Chris. I've had a good time. You're gonna give me a chance to plug all our sponsors.
110%. But before I let you end the
Okay.
podcast by plugging on the sponsors, let me do it first, right? First
Oh,
thing
you
I
go
want to
ahead.
say is thank you so much to everybody that watches this podcast, that hits that like and subscribe. If you have not yet, please do it. It helps me out a lot. If it wasn't for Joel and everybody else coming on here and everybody that watches, I would not be able to do this. And I mean that from my heart. I love each and every single one of you. And thank you so much. Big shout out to Next Level Financial, Chef Eats, TST Industries, my sponsor out there in the UK, the clothingkings.co.uk. That's their website. You can go there and order any Pin the Gas podcast merch you guys want. Big shout out to SFL Mini GP, Jersey and Florida, Vet2 Tracks, 64 Degree Racing, VenomSport.com, Road Racing World, BTR, KYT Helmets, K-Tech Suspension, Ghetto Customs, Drippin' Wet, REB Graphics. I had a little tongue twister right there. GRG Designs, Woodcraft, Mark 10 Motorsports, Free Hopes Racing, Nicole Polyich Photography, Stickboy Racing, Adrenaline Engineering, Pit Lane Moto, TBEXUSA Experience.org, CW Moto, Truth Be Told Apparel, Remix Racing, Komani AGV Sports Group, Superbike Supply, hashtag Do It For Dad. And not, last but not least, before I hand the mic to Joel to end this podcast, listen, people, if you're looking for parts, clothes, it don't matter what it is that has to do with motorcycles, dirt bikes, race bikes, whatever it is, buy from within the industry. Don't order it off of Walmart. Don't order
Oh,
it off
I
of
agree.
Team. Any of that.
Yep.
Please go to your local dealerships. Hit me up. I got plenty of friends in the industry. I can send you to any one of them. Stay
Yep.
within the industry. It means a lot to us that are here in this industry. So please and thank you so much. Joel, the
Hun-
floor is all yours, my friend.
I 100% agree with you. And you got an awful lot of sponsors. Must be swimming in cash with that many sponsors, Chris.
Man, I wish I was swimming in cash. Most of these right here are my friends that I highly support.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear you. No,
so I don't get a lot of return. I just get love and support from everybody. Of course, I get some free stuff, hats and shirts and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Well,
Um,
that's very good. I'm pretty successful, so I'm not gonna lie. We got $1,000 minimum, and most of them are way over that. So, but we use every penny of it. I think this year our program was over 100 grand, and I think I still kicked in about 35,000 on my own. So yeah, it's a big program. Um, no, maybe not 35, but anyway. Um, we'll start off the top as Adrian and Lisa Bolton that called in a minute ago, or Adrian did there at APD Motorsports. They're our local Triumph dealer here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they're our partner in this venture. Triumph America is where our bikes come out of, and Rod Lapusnik and Scott Calendar and all those guys down at Triumph. Just huge thanks to them for everything. Um, After that is Redline Oil. Mark Beatty and Eric Christensen. Man, nobody gives more percentage of business dollars back into the sport than those guys. Bill Maher at Fuel One. He's a partner going forward that I think is going to be, very instrumental in the growth of the team. After that, we've got a company called Avenir Energy. They're a nationwide propane supplier. They came on this year. Really, really happy to have them. Bird Infrastructures, a giant mechanical contracting company. I used to work for them, and they fired me. Um, but I thought highly enough of them to recruit them as a sponsor, and they liked me enough to friggin' sponsor the team. It's the only company in my whole history that ever fired me. They walked me out the door. Um, so it's pretty cool to
there's a
be able
story
to,
behind that too, but we'll get that on part two.
yeah. So those guys, Silver Bullet Bins is my buddy Brooke Kroll. He sponsors about a dozen people, and he was already balls deep in sponsoring all kinds of people when I hit him up, and he came on anyway. Um, Two people that are very near and dear to my heart is Dylan Levy and Matt Levy, the Levy family, who own FD Levy Automotive and Moduform. Family friends, very much close. Um, Michelle Blackwell at the Hub Saver, her husband agreed to come on as a sponsor, the Hub Saver, and he passed away. And she, I reached out to give her my condolences, and she was like, "No, if he wanted this, I'm going to stick it out." And I was like, "By all means, you do not have to." And she did, and she comments on every post, and so stoked to have her. We got Hose and Fittings Canada, who's my buddy Ron Bastrach. Dependable truck and tank and equipment is Scott Nolan. He's worked at 3 different companies, and every time he changes companies, he brings the new one on board for us. My buddy Carl Zink is Zink's Mechanical Insulation, our very first sponsor that we ever had, and still with us here 4 years later. Man, I got a lot. Jeez. DOC Engineering is a guy named Darcy O'Connell. I used to buy weed from him in high school, and he's an engineer and and with us. Ryan Bachman of Bachman Heating and Cooling. Man, it's funny. I'm drawing a blank here on some of this stuff. Landmark Tree Services is Colin Schneer. Thanks for being a part of it. Whew, I'd say that's about everybody. I mean, there's 20, and I'm sure. Oh, Callus Moto. I already kind of gave a shout out to them. They're our gear sponsor. Moto Maniacs is our graphic sponsor. Henson Clutches. We'll leave it at that, bud. I could go on. There's a lot of people to thank, but I'll make a list for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Joel, again, I'm serious. It's been an absolute honor to have you on the podcast, man. You,
Same
my
here, bud.
friend, it's absolutely proper mega, man. I love what you're doing. You keep doing you. You're an
Thank
absolute asset and legend to this sport. I don't care if it's dirt, flat track, 2 wheels, it's pavement, it's all 2 wheels, it's all the same, all for the same good cause. So,
Yeah.
bravo. Nothing but listen. You're amazing.
Thank you.
You keep
Thank you.
doing you, and can't wait to get you back on for part two. I'm gonna end this. Just stay on with me. We'll go ahead and
Sure.
schedule that. And again, if you guys missed this, you could, as soon as I end it, you can immediately go to my YouTube channel, rewatch it. It'll be out everywhere. Spotify.
I'll put it on my feed, and we'll bump up those numbers. I got a good crew, so they'll watch.
Thank you. But yeah, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute honor to sit down with the legend Joe Hillier. All right, man, this.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.